Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to do something really cool. We're going to take a simple table of numbers and figure out the real story hiding inside. It's all about moving from just counting things to drawing some really careful conclusions. So, can numbers hide the truth? I mean, that's a pretty wild question, right? We're always taught that data is, well, it's the truth. But you'd be surprised. If you don't know how to look at it correctly, the data can actually point you in a completely wrong direction. Let's dig in and see how. All right, first things first. Before we can find any story, we've got to get our data organized. The main challenge here is figuring out how to look at the relationship between two different types of things, two different categories. For our example, we're going to look at gender and smoking status. Okay, so this table right here, this is going to be our home base for this explainer. It's got data for 800 people. As you can see, we have 400 males and 400 females. And if we look closer, we see that 120 of the males are smokers and 80 of the females are smokers. The big question is there a connection here? Is there some kind of relationship between these numbers? Now, this type of table has a fancy name. It's called a contingency table, or you might hear it called a two-way table. Honestly, it's just the standard way statisticians lay out this kind of information. Each little box or cell gives you a very specific count. See that 320? That's telling us exactly how many females in our group are non-smokers. Simple as that. So, to get started with our analysis, we're not going to dive into the deep end just yet. Instead, let's kind of pull back and get the 30,000-foot view. And we do that by looking at the totals, the numbers on the edges or the margins of the table. This big picture approach is called a marginal distribution. And the absolute key here is that you're only looking at one thing at a time. You're using those row total and column total numbers. For just a second, you completely ignore all the numbers in the middle of the table. So for instance, let's say we want to find the marginal proportion of males. Super simple. We just grab the total number of males. You see it there, it's 400 in the row total. And we divide it by the grand total of everybody in the study, which is that 800 in the corner. And what does that give us? Boom, 50%. So from this high-level marginal view, it looks like our group is perfectly split, 50-50, males and females. But, and this is a big but, this view tells us absolutely nothing about smoking yet. It's just one piece of the puzzle. Okay, but that big picture view, it's useful, but it definitely doesn't tell us the whole story. To find the real relationship hidden in the data, we have to zoom in. We need to look at the numbers under specific conditions. This is what we call a conditional distribution. Think of it like putting a filter on our data. We're not looking at all 800 people anymore. Nope. Now we're asking much more specific questions, like what's going on only within the group of males? That little word given is like our magic word, our filter for slicing up the data. And really, understanding this difference is everything. The marginal view uses the grand total, that 800, to ask a super broad question. But the conditional view, it grabs a specific group total, like the 400 males, to ask a really, really focused question. It's this shift in perspective that unlocks all the interesting insight. All right, let's put this into practice. Check out this question. What percentage of females are smokers? Notice that phrase, of females. That's our clue. It tells us we're looking for a conditional percentage. We're totally ignoring the guys for this calculation. We only care about the 400 people in that female group. So, how do we calculate that? It's a simple three-step process. First, you find the given group. In this case, we just focus on the female row of our table. Step 2, you find the specific count we care about in that row, which is the 80 smokers. And finally, and this is the crucial part, you divide that 80 by the row total of 400, not the grand total of 800. And there we have it. The answer is 20%. So now we can say something much more powerful. We can say that given someone in our data is female, there's a 20% chance they are a smoker. See how much more specific and insightful that is? Okay, so now we have the right tool for the job. We can finally use these conditional distributions to answer our original question. We're going on a hunt for a relationship, or as statisticians call it, an association between these two things, gender and smoking. And here is the dead simple rule you need to know. An association exists if the conditional distributions are different. That's it. If the smoking percentage for males is different from the smoking percentage for females, then we found an association. If they were exactly the same, we'd say, nope, no relationship here. And this chart just makes it crystal clear. We already figured out the 20% for females. Now, if you do the exact same math for the males, that's 120 smokers out of 400 total males, you get 30%. And you don't have to be a statistician to see that those two bars are different heights. So, because 30% is definitely not the same as 20%, we can officially conclude that an association exists. Based on this data, it really does look like the variables of gender and smoking status are related in some way.
But wait a second. Just when you think you've cracked the case and you've got it all figured out, statistics has a way of throwing you a serious curveball. The conclusion we just made, it might be right, but it might not be the whole story.
This mind-bending curveball has a name: Simpson's paradox. It is one of the wildest things in statistics. It's what happens when a trend you see in different groups of data completely vanishes or even flips on its head when you combine the groups. And it's all because of some hidden factor, a lurking variable you didn't account for. Let's check out a classic example to see this in action. We're looking at survival rates for two hospitals. If you just glance at these overall numbers, Hospital A looks like the clear winner, right? I mean, 80% survival is better than 70%. Case closed, you'd think. But if there's one thing we've learned so far, it's that looking at the big overall numbers can be really misleading. There just might be a lurking variable, something we're not seeing that changes everything. And there it is. The lurking variable here is how tough the case was. When we split the data into easy cases and hard cases, the entire story flips upside down. Look at that. Hospital B is actually better for easy cases, 98% to 95%, and it's better for hard cases, 40% to 30%. So how did Hospital A look better overall? Simple. It just got way more of the easy patients, which skewed the total numbers. And that right there is the mic drop moment. The biggest takeaway of all. Finding an association is not the same as proving one thing causes another. And when you lump all your data together, you might be hiding the real truth. So from now on, whenever you see a statistic or a chart, I want you to ask yourself, what am I not seeing? What unseen lurking variable could be in the background, completely changing the story?